Have you ever wondered why time feels like a river that only flows in one direction, carrying us relentlessly forward into the unknown? Yet, when we look up at the night sky, we are actually gazing deeply into the ancient past. We move through our daily lives, believing with absolute certainty that the present moment is the only true reality. We treat the present as a fragile, fleeting sliver of existence, delicately sandwiched between a past that is gone forever and a future that has not yet been born. But the universe, in its quiet and infinite wisdom, operates by rules that completely defy our deepest, most primal intuitions. When you stand in the silence of a dark room and listen to the gentle, rhythmic ticking of a clock, what exactly are you hearing? Are you hearing the fundamental fabric of reality being woven second by second? Or are you merely perceiving an intricate illusion constructed by a biological mind desperately trying to make sense of the vast, unfathomable cosmos? This is not just a philosophical puzzle meant for quiet evenings of reflection. It is the most profound mystery of our physical existence. Every breath you take, every heartbeat you feel, is inextricably bound to a dimension we barely understand, a dimension that hides terrifying and beautiful secrets just beneath the surface of our everyday perception. Before we journey further into this deep cosmic mystery, I want to take a brief moment to gently welcome you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your dedicated guide through the wondrous and sometimes terrifying truths of our universe. I have noticed that roughly 71% of the beautiful, curious minds who watch our quiet journeys have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you find peace, wonder, and a sense of belonging in these contemplative explorations of the cosmos, please consider subscribing. It helps our small, growing community tremendously and allows us to continue unearthing the deepest mysteries of the universe together. Now, let us return to the quiet darkness, to the ticking clock, and to the grand illusion we call time. To truly understand the terrifying and magnificent nature of time, we must first recognize how intimately our perception of it is tied to the biological machinery of our own bodies. We feel that we live perfectly in the present moment, reacting to the world exactly as it happens. But the rigorous data gathered by neuroscientists and physicists paints a profoundly different picture. Every time you look at your own hands, you're not seeing them as they are in this exact infinitesimal fraction of a second. You are seeing them as they were a tiny fraction of a second ago. The light must reflect off your skin, travel through the air, enter the pupil of your eye, strike the retina, be converted into electrical impulses, travel down the optic nerve, and be processed by the visual cortex at the back of your brain. This intricate biological dance takes time. Specifically, it takes roughly 80 milliseconds for your brain to stitch together a coherent picture of reality. Therefore, you have never actually experienced the true present moment. You are forever trapped 80 milliseconds in the past, a silent prisoner of your own neurological machinery, watching a beautifully delayed broadcast of reality. Your entire life, every kiss, every tear, every sunset you have ever witnessed, was already a memory by the time you actually consciously experienced it. When we expand this concept from the intimate scale of the human body to the vast, staggering scale of the cosmos, the illusion of a shared, universal present moment completely shatters. Light is the absolute speed limit of the universe, traveling at an astonishing 186,282 miles per second. This speed, while unimaginably fast to our human minds, is agonizingly slow when compared to the infinite distances of the cosmos. When you step outside on a quiet, clear, and perfectly dark night and you direct your gaze towards the moon, you are seeing it as it was 1.3 seconds ago. When you look at our sun, providing the warmth and energy that sustains all life on Earth, you are feeling the ghost of a star as it was 8 minutes and 20 seconds in the past. If the sun were to suddenly vanish from existence this very second, we would continue to orbit an empty space in blissful ignorance for 8 minutes and 20 seconds before the sky went dark and the gravitational tether snapped. But the true scale of this temporal illusion only becomes clear when we look even deeper into the darkness. When you observe the Andromeda Galaxy, our nearest large galactic neighbor, you are catching ancient photons that have been journeying through the freezing, endless void of intergalactic space for 2,500,000 years. When that faint, gentle light began its journey, human beings did not even exist on the planet Earth. Our ancient ancestors were barely learning to walk upright across the savannas of Africa. The light traveled through the vast, quiet emptiness, undisturbed and unrelenting, crossing trillions upon trillions of miles of absolute silence, just to end its epic, multi-million-year cosmic journey by striking the back of your eye. You are literally looking at a ghost. You are seeing a galaxy not as it is today, but exactly as it was 2.5 million years ago. And if, by some miracle, there is an alien astronomer in the Andromeda Galaxy pointing a phenomenally powerful telescope at Earth right now, they would not see you listening to this story. They would see primitive hominids roaming a wild, untamed planet. There is no universal now. The concept of now is merely a localized bubble of perception, completely dependent on where you are and how fast you are moving. This profound realization leads us directly to the doorstep of one of the greatest scientific minds in human history. In the year 1905, Albert Einstein completely revolutionized our understanding of reality by publishing the special theory of relativity. Before Einstein, the greatest minds of humanity, including the brilliant Isaac Newton, believed that time was absolute and unbending. They imagined time as a giant, invisible metronome ticking away in the background of the universe, exactly the same for everyone, everywhere. A second on Earth was assumed to be exactly the same as a second on a distant planet, orbiting a completely different star. But Einstein realized that the universe is far stranger, far more terrifying, and infinitely more beautiful than Newton ever imagined. Einstein discovered that space and time are not separate, independent entities. They are inextricably woven together into a single, flexible, dynamic fabric known as space-time. And the most astonishing revelation of all was that this cosmic fabric can stretch, bend, and warp depending on your velocity and the gravitational forces acting upon you. Einstein proved that the faster you move through space, the slower you move through time relative to a stationary observer. This is not a mechanical error of clocks. It is a fundamental property of the universe itself. If you were to board a spacecraft and travel at 99% of the speed of light for what felt like 1 year to you, you would return to Earth to find that generations had passed. You would have effectively traveled into the future while your own biological clock barely ticked forward. This phenomenon, known as time dilation, has been rigorously proven by countless experiments, from precise atomic clocks flown around the world in commercial jetliners to the highly complex global positioning satellites that orbit our planet today, which must constantly correct for the warping of time to keep our navigation systems accurate. Time is not a rigid container in which events happen. It is a malleable, fluid dimension that interacts intimately with the matter and energy within it. This scientific truth brings us to one of the most profound and philosophically unsettling concepts in all of modern physics, the block universe theory. Imagine, if you will, a massive block of solid ice. In this scientific metaphor, the entire universe, every single event that has ever happened, is happening right now, or will ever happen in the future, is frozen completely solid within this enormous four-dimensional block. In this view of reality, time does not actually flow. The passage of time is merely a stubborn illusion created by human consciousness as our minds move along our specific trajectories through the block. The explosive birth of the universe in the Big Bang, 13,800,000,000 years ago, the violent formation of the Earth, the exact moment you took your first breath, the quiet, contemplative moment you are experiencing right now as you listen to these words, and the eventual, inevitable death of the last star in the cosmos. All of these moments exist simultaneously. They are all equally real. Your past has not vanished into a mysterious nothingness, and your future is not waiting out there in the void to be written. They are simply located at different coordinates within the vast infinite geometry of space-time. You just cannot perceive them from your current, highly restricted biological vantage point. When we begin to truly internalize these rigorous scientific truths, we might initially feel a profound sense of existential dread. It can be absolutely terrifying to realize that our fundamental perception of reality is utterly flawed, that the present moment is an illusion, and that our entire lives are permanently etched into a frozen, unchangeable block of space-time. But if we sit with these thoughts in the quiet of the night, if we allow the gentle weight of the cosmos to wash over us, this initial terror slowly transforms into an overwhelming, deeply peaceful sense of awe. We realize that we are not separate from the universe. We are not fragile, insignificant creatures, merely passing through time, destined to be forgotten. We are intrinsic, permanent features of the grand space-time fabric. As the great astrophysicist Carl Sagan beautifully noted, we are a way for the cosmos to know itself. We are the universe observing its own ancient beauty, asking profound questions about its own infinite mystery. Our lives, with all their joys, sorrows, and quiet moments of contemplation, are forever woven into the beautiful, terrifying geometry of reality. But as we come to terms with the nature of time on a macroscopic, cosmic scale, we must also prepare ourselves to look inward, down into the microscopic realm, where the rules of reality break down even further, revealing paradoxes that will shake the very foundation of logic itself. As we drift away from the massive, frozen geometry of the macroscopic block universe, where the past, present, and future coexist in a silent, unyielding monument of space-time, we must now turn our gaze in the opposite direction. We must leave behind the comforting, predictable world of galaxies, stars, and planets, and journey inward, down into a realm so incredibly tiny and profoundly bizarre that it threatens to shatter our understanding of reality entirely. Think about the physical world around you right now. Reach out and touch the surface nearest to you. Perhaps it is a wooden desk, the soft fabric of a blanket, or even the familiar warmth of your own skin. It feels absolute, does it not? It feels solid, dependable, and undeniably real. Your senses, honed by millions of years of biological evolution on the grassy plains of Earth, are desperately screaming at you that matter is a continuous, impenetrable substance. But physics, with its unyielding rigor and terrifying beauty, reveals that this sensation of solidity is perhaps the greatest and most convincing illusion ever orchestrated by the cosmos. When you touch that solid surface, you're not actually touching anything at all. You are experiencing the invisible, silent repulsion of electromagnetic fields. The atoms in your fingertips are hovering a microscopic fraction of a hair's breadth away from the atoms of the object, repelling one another in a silent, ancient dance of electrical charge. You have never actually touched anything in your entire life. You have only ever felt the ghostly push of invisible forces, floating slightly above the world you thought you were firmly connected to. Before we descend further into this strange and ghostly microscopic landscape, I want to take a gentle pause in our journey to speak directly to you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your quiet companion navigating the deepest, most astonishing mysteries of the cosmos. As I look at the numbers that map our growing community of cosmic explorers, I see that a staggering 71% of the curious minds who find their way to these relaxing, contemplative stories have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you are finding a sense of peace, a moment of profound wonder, or a gentle escape from the overwhelming noise of your daily life in these videos, please consider leaving a subscribe. It helps our humble channel immensely and ensures that we can continue to unearth the terrifying and beautiful truths of the universe together, night after night. Now, let us return to the invisible world, to the hollow nature of matter, and to the breathtaking paradoxes of quantum mechanics. To truly grasp the unsettling emptiness of reality, we must shrink our perspective down to the scale of a single, solitary atom. If you were to take a standard, beautiful red apple and magically enlarge it until it was the exact size of the entire planet Earth, a single atom inside that apple would finally be about the size of the original apple. That is the staggering scale of the microscopic world. But even within that impossibly tiny atom, there is almost nothing there. If you were to enlarge an atom so that its central nucleus, the tight, heavy cluster of protons and neutrons, was the size of a marble resting on the 50-yard line of a massive football stadium, the electrons orbiting that nucleus would be tiny, almost imperceptible gnats buzzing around the very highest seats in the grandstands. Everything in between, the vast, overwhelming majority of the atom, is completely, terrifyingly empty space. And because you, the Earth, the stars, and everything that has ever existed are made entirely of these atoms, it is a rigorous scientific fact that you are precisely 99.999999% completely empty space. If we were to somehow magically compress all the empty space out of the atoms that make up the entire human race, all 8 billion people currently breathing on this planet, the remaining solid matter would be so incredibly tiny that it could easily fit inside the volume of a single, ordinary sugar cube. We are phantoms, beautiful ghosts constructed almost entirely of the silent void, walking upon a planet that is equally hollow. But the terrifying truth of the quantum realm is not merely about empty space. It is about how the fundamental building blocks of our reality behave when they are left entirely alone in the dark. In our macroscopic world, the world of falling apples and orbiting planets, objects behave with a reassuring predictability. A thrown rock follows a precise parabolic arc. A ticking clock moves strictly forward. But in the late 1920s, a brilliant and deeply troubled generation of physicists, led by minds like Niels Bohr and Werner Heisenberg, discovered that the smallest pieces of the universe absolutely refused to follow these comforting rules. They uncovered the strange and unnerving reality of quantum mechanics, a mathematical framework that describes a universe based not on certainty, probability. In the quantum realm, a particle, such as an electron or a photon of light, does not have a single definite location or a precise speed until the exact moment it is consciously measured or observed by an outside system. Until that moment of observation, the particle exists in a strange, ghostly state called superposition. It is not in one place, nor is it in another. Rather, it exists as a mathematical wave of smeared-out probability, occupying every possible location and taking every possible path simultaneously. Imagine flipping a coin in a completely dark room. In our everyday experience, while the coin is spinning in the air, it is still fundamentally either heads or tails. We just do not have the information yet. But quantum mechanics tells us that if that coin were an electron, it is literally neither heads nor tails, and simultaneously both heads and tails until you turn on the light and look at it. The very act of looking, the physical process of measurement, forces the universe to make a choice. The ghostly wave of infinite possibilities suddenly and violently collapses into a single, definite reality. This realization horrified even the greatest minds of the era. Albert Einstein himself deeply hated the implications of quantum mechanics, famously and stubbornly declaring that God does not play dice with the universe. He could not accept a reality where the fundamental nature of existence was inherently blurry, unpredictable, and dependent on the act of observation. He believed that the moon was definitely there, even when no one was looking at it. But decades of rigorous, undeniable experimental data have proven that Einstein, in this specific philosophical battle, was wrong. The universe at its foundational level is not a clockwork machine. It is a shifting, shimmering sea of probabilities, waiting for an interaction to force it into existence. As if superposition were not bizarre enough to completely unravel our intuition, the quantum world harbors an even more deeply unsettling phenomenon, one that directly challenges our entire understanding of space, time, and distance. It is known as quantum entanglement, a concept so profoundly strange that Einstein derisively referred to it as spooky action at a distance. When two particles interact in a certain way, their quantum states become inextricably linked, completely woven together into a single mathematical equation, regardless of how far apart they are subsequently separated. You could take two entangled electrons, keep one here in a laboratory on Earth, and send the other one hurtling across the cosmos to the very edge of the observable universe, 46 billion light-years away. If you then measure the spin of the electron here on Earth, forcing it to choose a definite state, its entangled partner on the other side of the universe will instantaneously, in literally zero time, collapse into the exact opposite state. It does not take billions of years for a signal to travel between them. The connection is absolutely immediate. This terrifyingly beautiful fact completely shatters the fundamental speed limit of the universe, established by Einstein's theory of relativity. It implies that space, the vast, seemingly insurmountable distances between the stars, might be an illusion just as profound as the illusion of a universal present moment. In the deeply connected web of the quantum realm, distance simply ceases to exist. The entire universe, from the microscopic space between your cells to the macroscopic voids between superclusters of galaxies, might be a single, unbroken, profoundly interconnected organism. We look up at the night sky and feel small, isolated, and incredibly distant from the ancient fires of the cosmos. But quantum entanglement softly whispers to us that we are intimately, instantaneously connected to the farthest reaches of reality. The atoms that make up your beating heart were forged in the explosive deaths of ancient stars, and through the mysterious language of quantum mechanics, the fundamental particles within you may still hold secret, instantaneous conversations with the cold, dark corners of the universe from which they were violently born. But perhaps the most truly terrifying aspect of quantum mechanics is how it utterly demolishes our deeply held conviction about the unidirectional flow of time. We believe implicitly that the past is written in stone, causing the present, which in turn inevitably shapes the future. Cause always strictly precedes effect. But in a mind-bending experiment, known as the delayed choice quantum eraser, physicists have demonstrated that at the quantum level, this comforting sequence of time can run completely backward. In this incredibly complex experiment, a single photon of light is sent through a labyrinth of optical splitters and mirrors. The photon is forced to make a choice about whether to behave as a localized, solid particle or as a smeared-out, interfering wave. However, the ingenious part of the experiment is that the scientists can choose whether or not to measure the photon's path long after the photon has already passed the point where it had to make its choice. The rigorous, undeniable results show that the measurement made in the present moment actually reaches back through time to alter the behavior the photon exhibited in the past. If we choose to measure the photon's path right now, it will have behaved as a particle in the past. If we choose to erase that measurement right now, it will have behaved as a wave in the past. The present action literally dictates the past reality. The arrow of time, which feels so sharp and definitive to our human minds, becomes a blurred, two-way street in the microscopic world. This profound scientific discovery suggests that history is not a rigid, unchangeable script. The events that occurred long before you were born, the ancient, silent history of the cosmos, might not be entirely locked away in the frozen block of space-time. In some deep, mathematically rigorous way, the universe is constantly rewriting its own history based on the interactions happening right now. When we allow these staggering truths to wash over us, the fear of losing our solid, predictable reality slowly gives way to a profound, meditative peace. We are not rigid biological machines walking on a solid rock through an unyielding, linear sequence of time. We are made of 99.999% empty space, constructed from ghostly particles that exist in infinite possibilities until they are observed, instantly connected to the farthest reaches of the cosmos, and capable of participating in a reality where the present gently reaches back to touch the past. We are not just in the universe. We are an active, deeply integrated part of its ongoing, probabilistic creation. The absolute strangeness of quantum mechanics does not mean that nothing is real. Rather, it means that reality is far more beautiful, far more complex, and infinitely more mysterious than we could ever have possibly imagined. But as we embrace the quiet, shimmering uncertainty of the quantum world, we must prepare ourselves to confront the ultimate fate of this entire strange, interconnected cosmic dance, a future so unimaginably distant and deeply dark that it requires us to completely rethink the very meaning of existence. As we emerge from the dizzying, probabilistic haze of the quantum realm, where time can seemingly bend backward and space dissolves into instantaneous connections, we must confront an entirely different kind of terror. It is a terror that operates on a scale so incomprehensibly vast that it humbles even the most brilliant human minds. We have explored how time is a flexible illusion created by our biological limitations and the warping of space-time, and how the fundamental particles that make up our bodies refuse to obey the simple linear rules of cause and effect. But when we zoom out, far beyond the bizarre dance of electrons and photons, and look at the grand, overarching story of the entire cosmos, we find that there is one absolute, inescapable law governing the grand flow of existence. It is a law that dictates the inevitable decay of every mountain, the burning out of every star, and the ultimate dark fate of the universe itself. It is the second law of thermodynamics, and it introduces a terrifyingly beautiful concept known as entropy. Entropy is, simply put, the measure of disorder in a system. It is the fundamental reason why a shattered glass never spontaneously reassembles itself on your kitchen floor, why the vibrant green leaves of summer inevitably wither and turn to brown dust in the cold winds of autumn, and why your physical body slowly ages as the years drift by. The universe, in its relentless march forward, always moves from a state of orderly structure to a state of chaotic, quiet disorder. Before we venture into the unimaginably deep and silent future of the cosmos, I want to take a gentle pause in our journey to speak directly to you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your quiet companion navigating the deepest, most astonishing mysteries of the universe. As I look at the numbers that map our growing community of cosmic explorers, I see that a staggering 71% of the beautiful, curious minds who find their way to these relaxing, contemplative stories have not yet subscribed to the channel. If you are finding a sense of peace, a moment of profound wonder, or a gentle escape from the overwhelming noise of your daily life in these videos, please consider leaving a subscribe. It helps our humble channel immensely and ensures that we can continue to unearth the terrifying and beautiful truths of the universe together, night after night. Now, let us return to the relentless march of entropy and the deeply peaceful, ultimate fate of our ancient cosmos. Entropy provides the universe with a definitive, macroscopic arrow of time. Even if the microscopic quantum world allows for strange temporal loops and backward-reaching interactions, the macroscopic universe is strictly bound by the relentless increase of disorder. When the universe was born 13,800,000,000 years ago, in the searing, unfathomable heat of the Big Bang, it existed in a state of incredibly low entropy. It was highly ordered, dense, and pregnant, with the infinite potential to create the majestic structures we see today. Since that initial moment of creation, the universe has been expanding, cooling, and slowly unwinding like a giant, ancient cosmic clock that can never, ever be rewound. Every time a star ignites and burns its nuclear fuel, it increases the overall entropy of the universe. Every time a human being takes a breath, processes a thought, or builds a magnificent city, we are locally creating order, but we are paying for it by radiating heat and increasing the total disorder of the surrounding cosmos. We are magnificent, transient engines of entropy, burning brightly for a fleeting cosmic second, before gently returning our atoms to the quiet, disordered void. But the physical decay of matter is only a small fraction of the terrifying truth about the future of the universe. To truly understand the profound isolation that awaits the cosmos, we must look at the very fabric of space itself. In the late 1920s, an astronomer named Edwin Hubble made a discovery that completely shattered humanity's conception of a static, unchanging universe. By meticulously observing the faint, gentle light of distant galaxies, Hubble realized that almost every single galaxy in the cosmos is moving away from us. Furthermore, he discovered a beautiful and terrifying mathematical relationship. The farther away a galaxy is, the faster it is receding into the dark. The universe is not a static container. It is actively, continuously expanding. The empty space between the galaxies is physically stretching, growing larger with every passing second. For decades, scientists believed that the gravitational pull of all the mass in the universe, all the billions of galaxies, trillions of stars, and immeasurable clouds of dark matter, would eventually act as a cosmic brake, slowly grinding this expansion to a halt, like a thrown stone reaching the apex of its arc. However, in the late 1990s, two independent teams of astronomers made a discovery so shocking, so completely counterintuitive, that it turned the entire field of cosmology upside down. By observing the explosions of distant dying stars known as supernovas, they sought to measure exactly how much the universe was slowing down. But the rigorous, undeniable data revealed something impossible. The expansion of the universe was not slowing down at all. It was speeding up. Something incredibly powerful, completely invisible, and utterly mysterious is actively pushing the fabric of space-time apart, counteracting the gentle pull of gravity. Scientists call this terrifying and phantom-like force dark energy. Though the name tells us practically nothing about its true nature, we know through precise measurements that dark energy makes up roughly 68% of the total energy and mass of the entire universe. It is an anti-gravitational force that grows stronger as space expands, creating a runaway feedback loop of cosmic acceleration. The implications of this invisible force are profoundly isolating and deeply melancholy for the long-term future of our reality. As the universe expands faster and faster, driven by this mysterious force, distant galaxies will eventually be carried away from us at speeds exceeding the speed of light. This does not violate Einstein's speed limit, because it is the empty space itself that is stretching, not the galaxies physically moving through it. But the result is the same. The light from those distant galaxies will simply never be able to reach us. Over the next 100 billion years, the night sky will slowly and quietly empty out. The majestic superclusters of galaxies, currently shining with the light of countless trillions of stars, will fade and vanish completely behind an impenetrable cosmic event horizon. Any future astronomers evolving billions of years from now will look up into a sky that is almost entirely pitch black. They will see only the stars of our own local merged galaxy, surrounded by an infinite, empty void. They will have absolutely no evidence that the broader universe ever existed. They will never know about the Big Bang. They will never know about the cosmic web, and they will live in a terrifying state of absolute cosmic isolation. But even this profound loneliness is not the final chapter of the universe. We must project our minds incredibly far forward into a deep, deep future that makes the current age of the universe look like the briefest blink of an eye. Over the next 100 trillion years, the process of star formation will slowly grind to a complete halt. One by one, the majestic, brilliant stars will burn through their fuel and die. The era of starlight, the beautiful, vibrant epoch of the universe in which we are so incredibly fortunate to exist, will come to an absolute, permanent end. The cosmos will enter the degenerate era, populated only by the dead, cold corpses of stars. Over time, scales so unimaginably vast that writing the numbers would require more zeros than there are atoms in the universe. Even these stellar corpses will decay into radiation. Finally, the only structures left will be supermassive black holes, quietly lurking in the dark. But, as the brilliant Stephen Hawking proved, Even black holes slowly evaporate through quantum fluctuations over googles of years. When the last black hole radiates its final drop of energy, the universe will reach its ultimate state, the heat death. It is a death by absolute, eternal freezing. All energy will be evenly distributed across an infinitely large, infinitely cold expanse. There will be no more heat, no movement, and no more time. For without change, time itself ceases to exist. The cosmos will have finally settled into a deep, eternal, undisturbed sleep. When we contemplate this infinite dark future, we do not need to feel despair. Instead, we should feel an overwhelming, almost heartbreaking sense of gratitude. Out of the trillions of years of darkness that lie ahead, and the billions of years of chaotic formation that lie in the past, we happen to exist right now. We are the universe, briefly awake, gazing softly into the mirror of its own existence, finding peace in the face of the terrifying infinite. Have you ever stood at the edge of a deep, silent precipice in the dead of night, feeling that strange, almost magnetic pull of the void below? It is a primal, ancient instinct, a delicate mixture of profound terror and an inexplicable, quiet curiosity. We are terrestrial creatures, bound safely by gravity to the solid, comforting surface of our small, rocky planet. And so, the concept of an endless fall deeply disturbs our biological programming. But when we look up into the vast, glittering expanse of the cosmos, we are gazing into a universe that contains abysses so unfathomably deep and so mathematically terrifying that they break the very laws of physics we have worked so hard to uncover. We have journeyed together through the biological illusion of time, the ghostly, shifting uncertainties of the microscopic quantum realm, and the relentless, melancholic march of cosmic entropy. Yet, there remains a place in the ancient universe where all of these concepts, time, space, matter, and probability, are violently crushed together and completely annihilated. These are the dark, silent monuments of gravity known as black holes. They are the ultimate cosmic paradox, regions of space where the pull of gravity is so intensely powerful that absolutely nothing, not even a single photon of light, traveling at 186,282 miles per second, can ever hope to escape. They are the silent, invisible rulers of the night, guarding secrets that challenge the very definition of our reality. Before we step gently over the edge of this ultimate cosmic abyss, I want to take a brief, quiet moment to speak directly to you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your dedicated companion on this journey through the deepest, most astonishing mysteries of the universe. As I observe our growing community of nighttime explorers, I have noticed that roughly 71% of the beautiful, curious minds who find comfort and wonder in these relaxing, contemplative stories have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring a sense of peace to your mind, or help you find perspective in the vastness of the cosmos, please consider subscribing. It helps our humble channel immensely and ensures that we can continue to unearth the terrifying and beautiful truths of the universe together, night after quiet night. Now, let us return to the dark, to the crushing gravity, and to the edge of the infinite. To truly understand the terrifying majesty of a black hole, we must first understand the violent, spectacular poetry of its birth. Imagine a star, not an ordinary, gentle yellow dwarf like our sun, but a cosmic titan, a blue supergiant possessing 20, 30, or perhaps even 50 times the mass of our own star. For millions of years, this enormous sphere of incandescent plasma lives in a state of delicate, beautiful equilibrium. In its incredibly dense and ferociously hot core, it is constantly crushing atoms of hydrogen together to form helium, releasing an outward torrent of radiant energy that pushes against the crushing inward weight of its own colossal gravity. It is a monumental balancing act, a tightrope walk, performed on a cosmic scale. But a star is not infinite. After millions of years, it eventually exhausts its precious supply of hydrogen fuel. To maintain the balance, it begins fusing heavier and heavier elements, carbon, oxygen, silicon, until it finally produces a core of solid iron. Iron is the ultimate cosmic ash. It requires more energy to fuse than it releases, meaning the outward pressure of the star suddenly and catastrophically drops to zero. In a fraction of a single second, the delicate balance is shattered forever. The entire monumental weight of the star, billions upon billions of trillions of tons of matter, collapses inward at a significant fraction of the speed of light. The core is violently crushed beyond the limits of atoms, beyond the limits of quantum rules, until it is compressed into an infinitesimally small point of theoretically infinite density. This point is known as the singularity. The outer layers of the star are blasted outward in a supernova, an explosion so unimaginably bright that it can temporarily outshine an entire galaxy of 100 billion stars. But left behind in the silent, cooling dust is the dark heart of the dead star, a gravitational well so deep that it has punctured a hole in the very fabric of space-time itself. Surrounding this terrifying singularity is a boundary, an invisible, spherical threshold known as the event horizon. The event horizon is not a physical surface you could touch or stand upon. It is a mathematical boundary, the exact point of no return. The size of this boundary depends entirely on the mass of the singularity hidden within. For a black hole with the mass of our sun, the event horizon would be a sphere roughly 4 miles across. But for the supermassive monsters that lurk in the centers of galaxies, the event horizon can be tens of millions of miles wide. When we contemplate the event horizon, we encounter a distortion of time so profound that it utterly defies human intuition. Because gravity and time are intimately, inextricably linked in the beautiful mathematics of general relativity, the immense gravitational field of a black hole drastically slows down the passage of time. If you were to watch a brave, theoretical astronaut gently fall toward the event horizon from a safe distance in a spacecraft, you would witness a terrifying visual paradox. As the astronaut approached the boundary, the faint light reflecting off them would become stretched and distorted, shifting toward the red end of the electromagnetic spectrum. But, more astonishingly, you would see their movements become slower and slower. The ticking of their watch, the beating of their heart, the very chemical processes of their biology would grind to an agonizing crawl. From your perspective, safely floating in the flat, unwarped space far away, the astronaut would never actually appear to cross the event horizon. They would simply freeze in place, growing dimmer and redder, suspended in time forever, on the very edge of oblivion. But what is the terrifying truth for the astronaut themselves? From their perspective, time continues to flow perfectly normally. As they drift gently across the event horizon, they might not even notice the exact moment they pass the point of no return. There is no physical barrier, no signpost in the dark. But the moment they cross that invisible boundary, the fundamental geometry of the universe completely betrays them. Inside the event horizon, the warping of space-time is so extreme that space and time actually swap their fundamental roles. In our normal, everyday universe, you have freedom of movement in space. You can walk forward, backward, left, or right. But you are inexorably, unstoppably dragged forward through time toward the future. Inside a black hole, this reality is inverted. The singularity at the center of the black hole is no longer a physical location in space. It becomes a moment in your inevitable future. Just as you cannot physically travel back to yesterday in the outside world, inside the event horizon, you cannot move away from the singularity. Every single direction you could possibly point a spacecraft, every thruster you could fire in a desperate bid to escape, only pushes you faster toward the singularity. Space itself is flowing inward like an inescapable cosmic waterfall, moving faster than the speed of light. You are no longer falling through space. You are simply waiting for tomorrow. And tomorrow is the singularity, a terrifying point where the known laws of physics break down entirely, where gravity becomes infinite, and where matter is crushed into absolute nothingness. As if the death of space and time were not enough to inspire a profound, trembling awe, black holes harbor a mystery that has kept the greatest theoretical physicists awake in the quiet hours of the night. It is known as the black hole information paradox. In the rigorous mathematics of quantum mechanics, there is a fundamental, unbreakable rule. Quantum information can never be destroyed. The exact physical state of every particle, the precise quantum configuration of a star, a planet, or a human being, must be preserved in the universe forever, even if the object itself is burned to ash. But if a black hole acts as the ultimate cosmic incinerator, dragging matter into a singularity where it is seemingly annihilated, what happens to that precious information? In the 1970s, theoretical physics discovered that black holes slowly leak a faint thermal glow, evaporating over googles of years. But this radiation appears to be completely random, containing absolutely no information about the matter that fell in. This paradox created a terrifying suggestion that at the bottom of a black hole, the universe simply forgets. However, out of this profound crisis, a beautiful, staggering new theory emerged, suggesting our entire reality might be an elaborate illusion. To solve the paradox, physicists proposed the holographic principle. They mathematically suggested that the information of the matter falling into a black hole is perfectly preserved on the two-dimensional surface of the event horizon itself. Just as a security hologram contains all the information to project a three-dimensional image, the two-dimensional boundary contains all the information describing the three-dimensional chaos within. If the interior of a black hole is described by a two-dimensional boundary, is it possible that our entire three-dimensional universe is merely a holographic projection encoded on a distant two-dimensional cosmic horizon? As we let these terrifying and magnificent concepts settle into the quiet spaces of our minds, the initial feeling of profound insignificance begins to fade, replaced by a deep, meditative sense of wonder. The universe is not simply a dark, cold container filled with rocks and gas. It is an infinitely complex, beautifully paradoxical puzzle. The fact that the laws of physics allow for the existence of regions where time stops, where space flows like a river, and where the three-dimensional world might merely be a ghost written on a two-dimensional surface, tells us that reality is far richer and far more mysterious than our biological senses can ever perceive. We are incredibly fortunate to possess minds capable of peering into these ultimate cosmic abysses, of formulating the mathematics that describe the event horizon, and of confronting the limits of our own existence without succumbing to despair. We are tiny, yes. We are incredibly fragile, and our time in the universe is staggeringly brief. But in our brief, quiet moments of understanding, we expand to fill the entire cosmos. We are the universe trying to decipher the secrets of its own most terrifying shadows. But as we accept the mind-bending reality of black holes and holographic boundaries, we must also prepare ourselves to confront another invisible ghost, a substance so pervasive and yet so completely hidden that it makes up the vast majority of all the matter in the universe, silently pulling the strings of galaxies while completely refusing to step into the light. We have stared deeply into the crushing, absolute darkness of the black hole, a place where the familiar rules of space and time are violently extinguished. We have watched the brilliant, dying embers of giant stars collapse into mathematical singularities. And we have pondered the terrifying, beautiful possibility that our entire three-dimensional reality is nothing more than a ghost, a holographic whisper painted on the two-dimensional boundary of an event horizon. But when we pull our gaze away from these isolated, terrifying cosmic abysses and look out at the grand, sweeping architecture of the universe as a whole, we are confronted by an entirely different kind of ghost. It is a ghost not born from the explosive death of a star, but one that has been quietly shaping the destiny of the cosmos since the very dawn of time. Imagine walking out into a completely dark, silent forest at midnight. You look around and see hundreds of tiny, glowing fireflies dancing in the cold air. For a brief moment, your brain tells you that these tiny sparks of light are the only things that exist in the darkness. But you know, inherently, that the fireflies are just a tiny, insignificant fraction of the forest. There are massive, ancient oak trees, sprawling root systems, unseen animals moving through the brush, and a vast, complex ecosystem hidden entirely in the pitch black. When we look up at the night sky with our most powerful telescopes, we are exactly like a person looking only at the fireflies. The blazing stars, the swirling galaxies, the brilliant nebulas, everything that shines, everything that we can see and touch and measure with our conventional instruments, is absolutely nothing more than a few glowing sparks floating in a massive, ancient, and completely invisible ocean. Before we dive headfirst into this silent, invisible ocean, I want to take a gentle, quiet moment to speak directly to you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your dedicated companion on this journey through the deepest, most astonishing mysteries of the universe. As I observe our growing community of nighttime explorers, I have noticed that roughly 71% of the beautiful, curious minds who find comfort and wonder in these relaxing, contemplative stories have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring a sense of peace to your mind, or help you find perspective in the vastness of the cosmos, please consider subscribing. It helps our humble channel immensely and ensures that we can continue to unearth the terrifying and beautiful truths of the universe together, night after quiet night. Now, let us return to the dark forest of the cosmos, to the invisible ocean, and to the phantom mass that secretly holds our reality together. To understand the magnitude of this invisible reality, we must travel back in time to the middle of the 20th century, to a moment when human intuition once again clashed violently with the rigorous, unyielding data of the cosmos. Astronomers were pointing their telescopes at distant spiral galaxies, measuring the speed at which the brilliant stars at the outer edges of these majestic pinwheels were orbiting their galactic centers. According to the strict, deeply established laws of gravity, formulated by Isaac Newton and refined by Albert Einstein, the stars on the extreme outer edges of a galaxy should be moving significantly slower than the stars closer to the dense, bright center. It is exactly the same principle that governs our own solar system. The outer planets orbit the sun at a much more leisurely pace than the inner planets. But when a brilliant, pioneering astronomer named Vera Rubin meticulously measured the rotation of the Andromeda Galaxy, the data revealed something mathematically impossible. The stars on the very outer edges of the galaxy were not slowing down. They were moving at terrifying breakneck speeds, whipping around the galactic center so fast that the visible mass of the galaxy, all the billions of stars, the vast clouds of gas and the dust, was simply not enough to hold them together. According to everything we knew about physics, these galaxies should be violently tearing themselves apart, flinging their stars out into the cold, empty intergalactic void, like water spinning off a wet tire. And yet, the galaxies remain intact. They continue their ancient, majestic, spinning dance, beautifully preserved in the darkness. The only logical, rigorous scientific conclusion that could be drawn from this terrifying paradox is that there must be an enormous amount of unseen mass hiding in the galaxy, exerting a massive gravitational pull, acting as an invisible glue to keep the stars tethered to their orbits. Physicists called this invisible glue dark matter. But the term is a profound understatement. Dark matter is not simply dark like a cloud of soot or a cold, dead star that happens to emit no light. It is completely, utterly transparent to the entire electromagnetic spectrum. It does not emit light, it does not absorb light, and it does not reflect light. It does not interact with the fundamental electromagnetic forces that give shape and solidity to the normal matter in our world. You could shine the most powerful laser ever built directly into a dense clump of dark matter, and the beam would pass completely straight through it, as if absolutely nothing was there. The only way we know it exists is through the silent, invisible pull of its gravity. It warps the fabric of space-time, bending the light of distant galaxies in a phenomenon known as gravitational lensing, acting as a massive, invisible magnifying glass floating in the void. This invisible phantom is not just floating out there in the distant reaches of space. Because it completely ignores the electromagnetic forces that make solid objects solid, it does not clump together to form planets or stars. Instead, it forms massive, diffuse, spherical halos that completely engulf entire galaxies, including our own Milky Way. This means that as you sit quietly listening to these words, submerged in the comforting illusion of your solid, familiar surroundings, you are actually adrift in an invisible sea of phantom particles. In every single second that passes, billions upon billions of these mysterious dark matter particles are streaming directly through your body, completely unimpeded, passing through the walls of your home and the solid crust of the earth as effortlessly as a ghost passing through a shadow. They are here right now, sharing the exact same physical space as the atoms in your beating heart, totally silent, completely undetectable, participating in a cosmic choreography that completely ignores our human existence. It is a deeply unsettling thought to realize that we are sharing our reality with an invisible, untouchable ecosystem of matter that vastly outnumbers us, yet remains forever beyond the reach of our physical senses. But the scale of this terrifying phantom goes far beyond individual galaxies. When astrophysicists use powerful supercomputers to simulate the evolution of the entire universe, they discover that dark matter is the fundamental, underlying architectural framework of existence. In the deeply ancient moments following the Big Bang, before the first stars even had a chance to ignite, It was the dark matter that began to clump together, drawn by its own irresistible gravity. It formed an unimaginably vast, three-dimensional network of invisible filaments, stretching across billions of light-years of empty space. This structure is known as the cosmic web, the visible matter, the hydrogen and helium gas that would eventually form all the stars, planets, and human beings that will ever exist, was simply dragged along by the overwhelming gravitational pull of this dark matter framework. The gas flowed along the invisible filaments, pooling into massive clusters at the intersections where the gravity was strongest. It was only within these dense, invisible pockets of dark matter that normal gas could compress enough to ignite the first stars and build the magnificent galaxies we see today. The glowing, beautiful cosmos that we admire is nothing more than a thin, luminous foam resting on the surface of an infinitely deep, invisible ocean of dark matter. Without this invisible ghost, the universe would be a completely dark, uniform mist of gas, forever incapable of producing stars, planets, or the delicate biological machinery of life. We literally owe our existence to a substance we cannot see, touch, or understand. And this brings us to the most humbling, terrifying, and awe-inspiring scientific truth of all. When we carefully weigh all the normal matter in the universe, every single blazing star in the trillions of galaxies, every black hole, every wandering comet, every grain of cosmic dust, every drop of water on Earth, and every human being who has ever lived, we find that it accounts for a mere 5% of the total mass and energy of the cosmos. 5%. The dark matter we just explored, the invisible glue holding the galaxies together, makes up roughly 27%. And the terrifying dark energy we discussed earlier, the phantom force relentlessly tearing the fabric of space-time apart, constitutes the remaining 68%. This means that an astonishing 95% of the entire universe is completely missing from our direct perception. 95% of reality is fundamentally made of things we do not understand, things we cannot see, and things that behave according to rules that operate completely outside the boundaries of our daily macroscopic human experience. We have spent thousands of years building telescopes, shattering atoms, and writing elegant mathematical equations, only to discover that we have been studying a mere 5% of existence. We are like intelligent deep-sea fish, swimming entirely in the pitch-black depths of the ocean, completely unaware that there is a surface above us, a sky, a sun, and an infinite universe operating on principles we cannot even begin to imagine. When you allow this staggering, monumental fact to settle into the quiet spaces of your mind, the initial sense of intellectual terror, the fear of the unknown, slowly and gently evaporates into a profound, meditative peace. The universe is not a small, understandable box that humanity is destined to perfectly measure and categorize. It is an infinitely deep, beautifully complex mystery. The shadows that surround us are not something to be feared. They are an invitation. They remind us that the journey of discovery is eternal, that there will always be new, terrifying, and magnificent horizons to explore. We do not need to know everything to find peace in our existence. The very act of standing on the edge of the unknown, of staring into the invisible ocean of dark matter and dark energy, and admitting with complete intellectual honesty that we do not know what it is the most profound expression of our humanity. We are the 5%, the rare, luminous sliver of the cosmos that has somehow developed the incredible capacity to look out into the 95% darkness and wonder. Our ignorance is not a failure. It is the absolute fuel for our eternal curiosity. But as we embrace the gentle beauty of the invisible universe, we must ask ourselves an even more profound question. If our universe is so deeply strange, so finely tuned, and filled with such terrifying paradoxes, is it possible that this entire cosmic architecture is not the only one? As we drift toward the edge of our known reality, we must prepare our minds to confront the most staggering possibility of all, the dizzying, awe-inspiring concept of the multiverse. Have you ever stood quietly by a cold window, watching the rain fall into the deep silence of the night, and caught yourself wondering about the invisible paths you did not take? We all carry a phantom weight of unlived lives within us. The words we left unspoken out of fear, the trains we decided not to board, the gentle, fleeting moments we let slip through our fingers without fully grasping their meaning. We treat these alternate realities as mere ghosts of our imagination, fictional stories we tell ourselves in the quiet dark to cope with the overwhelming permanence of our choices. But what if those unlived lives are not imaginary at all? What if, in the grand, terrifying architecture of reality, every single choice you have ever made, every random event that has ever occurred in the vast expanse of the cosmos, literally birthed an entirely new, physically real universe? As we prepare to leave the comforting, singular reality we have always known, we must embrace a concept so dizzying, so mathematically profound, that it threatens to completely dissolve our traditional understanding of a unique, individual existence. We are about to cross the ultimate threshold, leaving behind the known universe to step gently into the staggering, infinite labyrinth of the multiverse. Before we surrender our minds to this infinite labyrinth of branching realities, I want to take a gentle, quiet moment to speak directly to you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your dedicated companion on this journey through the deepest, most astonishing mysteries of the universe. As I observe our growing community of nighttime explorers, I have noticed that roughly 71% of the beautiful, curious minds who find comfort and wonder in these relaxing, contemplative stories have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring a sense of peace to your mind, or help you find perspective in the vastness of the cosmos, please consider subscribing. It helps our humble channel immensely and ensures that we can continue to unearth the terrifying and beautiful truths of the universe together, night after quiet night. Now, let us return to the quiet crossroads of existence and step together into the boundless, shimmering infinite. To truly understand the rigorous scientific foundation of the multiverse, we must first look back to the absolute beginning of everything we know, peering through the deepest layers of cosmic time. When astronomers gaze into the cosmic abyss with their most exquisitely sensitive instruments, such as the European Space Agency's Planck satellite or NASA's Wilkinson microwave anisotropy probe, they are not looking at empty space. They are capturing the faint, ancient afterglow of the Big Bang itself, a background of microwave radiation that completely permeates the entire cosmos. This primordial light reveals a universe that is incredibly, almost perfectly uniform in its temperature and structure. To explain this eerie, terrifying perfection, a brilliant physicist named Alan Guth proposed the theory of cosmic inflation in the 1980s. The mathematics of inflation suggest that in the very first fraction of a trillionth of a second after the Big Bang, the fabric of space itself expanded at an unimaginably violent exponential rate, moving far faster than the speed of light. This momentary burst of hyperexpansion stretched the microscopic quantum fluctuations of the early universe into the macroscopic seeds of the giant galaxy clusters we see today. It is a beautiful, deeply elegant theory that perfectly matches the rigorous observational data of our modern space telescopes. However, the mathematics of cosmic inflation harbor a deeply unsettling and magnificent secret, a logical consequence known as eternal inflation. The theory suggests that this rapid, explosive expansion did not just happen once, and then cleanly stop everywhere simultaneously. Instead, the vast underlying fabric of reality is continually, eternally inflating. Our specific universe, with its billions of majestic galaxies, its trillions of burning stars, and its unfathomable oceans of dark matter, is merely a single microscopic bubble where the inflation happened to stop, allowing the space to cool and structure to form. But all around us, separated by insurmountable, furiously expanding oceans of space-time, other bubbles are constantly popping into existence. Imagine a vast boiling pot of water where infinite bubbles are continuously forming, expanding, and drifting through the turbulent liquid. In this terrifyingly grand model of reality, we are living inside just one of those bubbles. Countless other bubble universes are being born every single second, creating an infinite, boiling foam of realities. Each of these universes could possess completely different laws of physics, different dimensions, different fundamental forces, and different balances of dark energy. In some of these bubbles, gravity might be so overwhelmingly strong that the universe instantly collapses back on itself. In others, the atomic forces might be so weak that stars and planets can never form, leaving a completely cold, eternally dark void. We happen to live in a universe where the physical constants are perfectly, delicately tuned to allow for the creation of complex chemistry, biological life, and consciousness. But the concept of the multiverse is not just out there, separated by infinite, unbridgeable cosmic distances. It might be happening right here, constantly, in the microscopic spaces between the atoms of your own breathing body. To understand this, we must return to the terrifying uncertainties of quantum mechanics that we explored earlier in our journey. Remember the ghostly, unnatural state of superposition, where a microscopic particle exists in all possible states simultaneously until the exact moment it is observed. For decades, physicists struggled to understand how this blurry wave of infinite quantum probability suddenly violently collapses into a single, definite reality when we look at it. But in the 1950s, a brilliant, visionary physicist named Hugh Everett proposed a radical, mind-bending interpretation to solve this paradox without requiring a magical collapse. He looked at the stark, unyielding mathematics of quantum mechanics and suggested a terrifyingly simple truth. The wave function never actually collapses at all. Instead, every time a quantum interaction occurs, every time a particle is faced with multiple possible states, the entire universe physically splits. In this beautiful and terrifying view of existence, known as the many worlds interpretation, there is no single definitive reality. If a photon of light has a 50% chance of behaving as a wave and a 50% chance of behaving as a particle, the universe does not magically choose one. It splits in two. In one universe, you observe the photon as a wave. In a newly born, completely separate, and equally real universe, an exact physical copy of you observes the photon as a particle. Because your body and brain are made of trillions upon trillions of quantum particles interacting countless times every single millisecond, this means that you are constantly, relentlessly branching into an infinite, fractal tree of alternate realities. Every heartbeat, every breath, every microscopic neural firing in your brain is generating an unfathomable multitude of new universes. Think about the staggering, overwhelming magnitude of this proposition. Somewhere out there, in the infinite quantum branches of the multiverse, there is a physical universe where you made every conceivable choice differently. There is a quiet, parallel reality where you decided to take that other job, leading to a completely different trajectory of your life. There is a universe where you never met the people you deeply love today, and another where you never lost the ones you mourn. There are ancient universes where humanity never managed to evolve beyond simple, single-celled organisms, where the Earth was swallowed by a wandering black hole billions of years ago, and where the dinosaurs still gently roam under a different configuration of stars. We carry a profound human bias, thinking of our specific timeline as the real one, and all others as hypothetical alternatives. But to the cosmos, to the blind and silent equations of quantum mechanics, every single one of these infinite branches is equally real, equally vibrant, and completely oblivious to the existence of the others. The reality you're experiencing right now is just one microscopic thread in an infinitely vast tapestry of existence. When we confront the absolute, staggering infinity of the many worlds multiverse, we might initially feel a profound sense of vertigo, a terrifying dissolution of our own unique identity. If there are literally infinite versions of you living out every possible permutation of your life, making every possible mistake, and achieving every possible success, does your specific existence in this specific branch even matter? Does your pain, your joy, or your quiet contemplation of the stars carry any meaning in an infinite sea of copies? But if we breathe deeply in the absolute silence of the night, if we let the gentle weight of this scientific theory wash over us, this existential terror slowly softens into a profound, meditative peace. The multiverse does not diminish your existence. It elevates it to an unfathomable level of cosmic significance. You are the specific, unbroken, unique culmination of trillions of specific quantum choices stretching all the way back to the primordial fires of the Big Bang. Your consciousness, right here, right now, listening to these words in the quiet dark, is a singular, unrepeatable melody playing in an infinite, cosmic symphony of realities. You are not a generic copy. You are the exact universe that chose to be here, seeking wonder in the face of the unknown. We are the universe experiencing the breathtaking magnitude of its own infinite possibilities. We are a profound mystery wrapped in the delicate illusion of time, floating in a microscopic bubble of an eternally expanding cosmos. But as we marvel at the infinite branches of existence and the staggering diversity of the multiverse, we must eventually turn our gaze back to our own specific night sky and ask a deeply haunting question. If our universe is this vast, this ancient, and this endlessly creative, bursting with trillions of stars and potentially billions of habitable worlds, why is the sky so profoundly, terribly silent? As we journey onward through the cosmic dark, we must prepare to face the ultimate, haunting silence of the stars and the terrifying possibility that in this vast, infinite expanse, we might actually be completely, profoundly alone. Have you ever walked outside on a perfectly clear, moonless night, far away from the blinding artificial lights of human cities, and simply looked up at the overwhelming, ancient canopy of the stars? When you tilt your head backward and let your eyes adjust to the deep, freezing dark, you are not just looking at points of light. You are looking at potential homes. You are gazing at trillions of colossal nuclear furnaces, each one capable of warming its own family of orbiting worlds. For most of human history, we believe that our quiet blue planet was an incredibly rare oasis, a unique miracle of water and stone floating in a dead cosmos. But modern astronomy, with its unyielding rigor and deeply beautiful precision, has completely shattered that lonely illusion. We now know, with absolute scientific certainty, that planets are not rare anomalies. They are the standard universal rule. Almost every single star you can see with your naked eye, and the hundreds of billions of stars hidden in the hazy, glowing band of our Milky Way galaxy, possess their own intricate solar systems. There are rocky planets covered in vast, silent oceans of liquid water, planets bathed in the gentle warmth of their parent stars, planets holding all the basic chemical ingredients necessary to spark the ancient, complex fire of biological life. In our galaxy alone, conservative estimates suggest there are at least 40 billion Earth-sized planets orbiting within the habitable zones of their stars. 40 billion worlds floating in the quiet dark, pregnant with the mathematical possibility of life. And yet, when we turn our most sensitive radio telescopes toward these tantalizing worlds, listening desperately for a whisper, a signal, a mathematical beacon in the night, we hear absolutely nothing. The sky is profoundly, terrifyingly silent. Before we delve deeper into this haunting, cosmic silence and the terrifying paradox it creates, I want to take a gentle, quiet moment to speak directly to you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your dedicated companion on this journey through the deepest, most astonishing mysteries of the universe. As I sit here reading the data of our growing community of nighttime explorers, I have noticed that roughly 71% of the beautiful, curious minds who find comfort, wonder, and a sense of intellectual safety in these relaxing, contemplative stories have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring a sense of peace to your weary mind, or help you find a comforting perspective in the overwhelming vastness of the cosmos, please consider subscribing. It helps our humble channel immensely and ensures that we can continue to unearth the terrifying and beautiful truths of our universe together, night after quiet night. Now, let us return to the overwhelming dark, to the deafening silence of the stars, and to the greatest, most chilling mystery of our existence. To truly grasp the terrifying weight of this silence, we must combine the staggering, infinite scale of space with a deep, unfathomable expanse of cosmic time. Our beautiful, swirling Milky Way galaxy is approximately 13,600,000,000 years old. It is an ancient, sprawling metropolis of stars stretching 100,000 light years from edge to edge. Our own sun, by comparison, is a relatively young latecomer, having ignited only 4,600,000,000 years ago. This means that there were billions upon billions of rocky, habitable planets existing in our galaxy for billions of years before the Earth was even a swirling cloud of hot dust. If biological life is a natural, inevitable consequence of complex chemistry, a process that happens whenever water, organic molecules, and energy are brought together in the right conditions, then life should have erupted on countless billions of those ancient worlds long before our solar system was born. Given millions of years of undisturbed evolution, some of those biological ecosystems should have produced intelligent, conscious minds. And given a few million years of technological development, a mere blink of an eye in cosmic time, those ancient civilizations should have spread across the galaxy, colonizing other star systems, building massive, easily detectable megastructures, and filling the cosmic void with the bustling, noisy radio signals of a thriving, galaxy-wide empire. This brings us face to face with a profound, terrifying intellectual conflict famously summarized in the year 1950 by the brilliant physicist Enrico Fermi. During a casual lunchtime conversation about the sheer mathematical probability of extraterrestrial life, Fermi simply looked at his colleagues and asked a question that still haunts astronomers to this very day. Where is everybody? This deceptively simple question is the heart of the Fermi paradox. The universe is incredibly vast, unfathomably ancient, and practically overflowing with the exact ingredients necessary for life. The mathematical equations practically scream that we should be surrounded by a vibrant, noisy, bustling cosmos, teeming with ancient, highly advanced civilizations. Yet despite decades of rigorous, exhaustive searching with the most powerful technological instruments humanity has ever constructed, we have found zero evidence. No radio signals, no alien megastructures blocking the light of distant stars, no self-replicating robotic probes drifting into our solar system. There is a terrifying, profound contradiction between the high mathematical probability of life and the absolute, freezing lack of any observational evidence. The universe appears to be completely, overwhelmingly empty. To resolve this chilling paradox, scientists have proposed a concept that is simultaneously elegant and deeply terrifying. It is known as the Great Filter. The theory suggests that somewhere along the evolutionary timeline, between the formation of a rocky, watery planet and the rise of a galaxy-spanning interstellar civilization, there exists a monumental, almost insurmountable barrier. This filter is a developmental wall so incredibly difficult to pass that it wipes out almost all life that attempts it. The terrifying question that keeps cosmologists awake in the deep silence of the night is this: where exactly does this great filter lie in our own timeline? If the filter is behind us, in our deep, ancient past, it means that the jump from simple, single-celled organisms to complex, multicellular life, or perhaps the leap to conscious intelligence, is a miraculous, wildly improbable statistical anomaly. If the great filter is behind us, it means that the vast majority of the universe is entirely dead or populated only by simple, blind bacteria clinging to warm rocks. It would mean that we, the human race, are an incredibly rare, precious, and lonely spark of consciousness in a mostly sterile cosmos. While this thought is profoundly isolating, it is also deeply comforting, because it implies that we have already survived the hardest part of the cosmic test. But there is a second, infinitely more terrifying possibility. What if the great filter is not behind us, but waiting patiently for us in our immediate future? What if the emergence of complex life and conscious intelligence is actually quite common across the galaxy, but every single civilization that reaches our current level of technological power inevitably and completely destroys itself before it can spread to the stars? We are a fragile, aggressive species that has unlocked the apocalyptic fire of the atom, capable of sterilizing our own beautiful planet in a matter of hours. If the great filter lies ahead, it means intelligence is a lethal, self-terminating evolutionary trait. In this horrifying scenario, the silence of the night sky is a massive, ancient graveyard, a silent monument to countless civilizations that reached for the stars, only to collapse into dust. Alternatively, there is the chilling dark forest theory. Imagine the universe as a vast, quiet forest filled with ancient, hidden hunters. Because it is impossible to know if another civilization is peaceful across the vast, delayed distances of space, the most rational survival strategy is to remain completely, absolutely silent. If you reveal your location by broadcasting into the dark, you invite immediate, preemptive destruction. In this terrifying vision, the sky is silent because everyone is holding their breath, terrified of what might be listening. When we allow the staggering weight of this cosmic silence to settle into the quiet spaces of our minds, it evokes a deeply profound, almost overwhelming sense of peace and responsibility. Whether we are truly alone because the miracle of life is an unimaginably rare spark in a sterile void, whether the great filter lies ahead as a terrifying test we must survive, or whether we are shouting into a dark forest surrounded by silent, invisible watchers, our existence is inherently, undeniably precious. If we are the only consciousness in the entire observable universe, then we are the cosmos's only fleeting opportunity to look back at itself, to understand its own majestic mathematics, and to feel the gentle warmth of wonder. We are the sole custodians of meaning in an otherwise blind and mechanical universe. But as we accept the heavy, beautiful burden of our potential loneliness, we must also open our minds to a fundamentally different paradigm. What if we are looking for life in entirely the wrong way? What if the universe is not just a container for conscious beings, but is, in some deeply terrifying and beautiful mathematical sense, completely conscious itself? As we journey further into the unknown, we must prepare to face the boundaries of mind and matter and the staggering possibility that the reality we perceive is merely a simulation, a dream dreamed by the cosmos. Have you ever woken up from a dream so incredibly vivid, so rich with tactile sensation, color, and raw, unfiltered emotion, that for a few deeply disorienting seconds you simply could not distinguish which world was the true reality? We brush these moments off as mere tricks of a tired biological mind, briefly caught in the delicate transition between the subconscious dark and the waking light. But what if that fleeting, unsettling feeling of unreality is not a glitch in your brain, but a profound, accidental glimpse into the true nature of our existence? We walk through our daily lives trusting implicitly in the absolute solidity of the world. We believe that the ground beneath our feet, the gentle warmth of the morning sun on our skin, and the complex, beautiful emotions we feel for the people we love are all anchored in an objective, physical, base reality. But as our own human technology advances at a terrifying, exponential rate, and as we look deeper into the underlying mathematical structure of the quantum world, some of the most brilliant physicists and philosophers on our planet are beginning to ask a question that shatters the very foundation of human knowledge. What if absolutely everything you have ever known, every star in the night sky, every blade of grass, and every single memory you hold dear, is nothing more than an immensely complex, flawlessly executed computational simulation? What if the universe is not a physical place at all, but an ancient, infinite dream generated by a profoundly advanced, unseen intelligence? Before we surrender our minds to this dizzying, algorithmic labyrinth, I want to take a gentle, quiet moment to speak directly to you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your dedicated companion on this quiet journey through the deepest, most astonishing mysteries of the universe. As I observe our growing community of nighttime explorers, I have noticed that roughly 71% of the beautiful, curious minds who find comfort, wonder, and a sense of intellectual safety in these relaxing contemplative stories have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring a sense of peace to your weary mind, or help you find a comforting perspective in the overwhelming vastness of the cosmos, please consider subscribing. It helps our humble channel immensely and ensures that we can continue to unearth the terrifying and beautiful truths of our universe together, night after quiet night. Now, let us return to the unsettling illusion of solidity, to the digital fabric of reality, and to the ghostly boundaries of the simulated cosmos. To truly understand the rigorous logical foundation of the simulation hypothesis, we must first look at the trajectory of our own human civilization. Just 50 years ago, our most advanced computer games consisted of a few crude white squares bouncing across a black screen. Today, we've created staggeringly complex virtual worlds filled with billions of independently generated assets, governed by highly realistic physics engines, and populated by millions of simultaneous human players. If human computing power continues to grow at its current exponential rate for another 100 years, or perhaps another 1,000 years, we will inevitably possess the capability to simulate an entire planet, right down to the fundamental quantum behavior of every single atom. We could simulate the complex biochemical pathways of billions of human brains, giving those simulated entities the exact same conscious experience, the same capacity for joy and sorrow that you and I possess. Now, if we scale this technological inevitability to the vast, unfathomable expanse of cosmic time, the mathematics become truly terrifying. If there is even one single ancient civilization in the universe that survived the Great Filter and reached this level of godlike computing power, they would not just run one simulation. They would likely run millions, perhaps billions, of ancestor simulations to study their own history or explore alternative physical laws. Therefore, the number of simulated universes would vastly outnumber the one single, true, base reality. Statistically speaking, the chance that you and I currently reside in that one true, base reality is incredibly, almost infinitesimally small. It is a mathematical near certainty that we are living inside a machine. This terrifying philosophical argument is not merely a thought experiment. It is increasingly supported by the strange, unyielding anomalies we discover at the very edges of modern physics. When we examine the deep, foundational rules of our universe, they behave suspiciously like the optimized code of a video game. In a computer simulation, processing power is finite and precious. To save computational energy, a game engine only renders the complex, high-resolution details of a room when the player actually walks into it and looks around. When the player looks away, the room ceases to physically exist, remaining only as mathematical potential in the machine's memory. As we explored earlier in our journey, this is precisely, rigorously, how the quantum world behaves. An electron, or a photon, exists as a blurry, undefined wave of probability, occupying no specific location, until the exact moment it is observed or measured. The act of observation forces the universe to render the particle into a definite state. Could the ghostly, unsettling reality of quantum superposition simply be the ultimate cosmic rendering engine, a resource-saving mechanism designed by a higher intelligence to optimize the simulation? Furthermore, the speed of light, an absolute, unbreakable speed limit of 186,282 miles per second, is often described by physicists as the maximum processing speed of the universe. Just as a computer processor has a maximum clock speed that dictates how fast information can travel across its circuits, our universe has a hard-coded limit on the propagation of causality, the pixelated nature of reality, where space and time cannot be divided infinitely, but are broken down into discrete, fundamental units, known as Planck lengths and Planck times, looks exactly like the minimum resolution and the frame rate of a digital display. But If we are indeed living inside a staggeringly complex simulation, we are forced to ask an even deeper, more haunting question. Who or what is running the machine? Are we the digital playthings of an advanced post-human civilization looking back at their ancient, primitive ancestors, or is the simulator something far more incomprehensible, a vast alien intelligence operating in a dimension with physical laws entirely alien to our own? Some visionary thinkers propose a concept that bridges the gap between digital simulation and ancient spiritual philosophy, a concept known as panpsychism. What if the universe is not a machine running a program, but an immense, singular, conscious entity? When cosmologists map the large-scale structure of the entire observable universe, tracing the vast glowing filaments of dark matter and the massive clusters of galaxies, the resulting image is breathtakingly, terrifyingly familiar. The cosmic web, spanning billions of light years, looks almost exactly like the intricate microscopic neural networks of the human brain. The universe resembles a colossal, ancient mind. In this view, the stars, the galaxies, and the empty space between them are the physical substrate, the neurons and synapses of a cosmic consciousness. If the universe itself is a conscious thinking entity, then the simulation hypothesis takes on a profoundly beautiful, almost poetic dimension. We are not trapped in a cold, artificial computer built by alien engineers. We are thoughts, complex, self-aware ideas blossoming within the infinite mind of the cosmos. The universe is dreaming, and we are the intricate, detailed characters within that grand, eternal dream. Our human consciousness is merely a tiny, fractured piece of the universal mind, localized within a biological shell, temporarily forgetting its true, infinite nature so that it can experience the beautiful, tragic limitations of time and space. The great philosopher Alan Watts once beautifully noted that you are an aperture through which the universe is looking at and exploring itself. If panpsychism is true, this is not just a poetic metaphor. It is the fundamental, literal description of physics and reality. You are the universe, folded back upon itself, granted a brief, beautiful moment of awareness to marvel at your own vast, starry body. When we allow these dizzying, monumental concepts to settle gently into the quiet spaces of our minds, the initial terror of being unreal or simulated completely evaporates, replaced by a deep, meditative sense of wonder and profound peace. It truly does not matter if the solid desk beneath your hands is made of fundamental physical particles, vibrating strings of energy, or lines of elegant, divine code running on a cosmic supercomputer. The distinction between physical reality and simulated reality is ultimately meaningless to the conscious observer. The pain you feel is real. The love you share is real. The quiet, deep sense of awe you experience when you look up at the ancient, infinite night sky is real. The meaning of our lives is not derived from the underlying substrate of the universe. It is derived from the depth of our experiences and the connections we forge in the dark. We are participants in the most magnificent, deeply mysterious story ever told, whether it is written in atoms or in algorithms. If we are indeed living in a simulation, a dream, or a digital illusion, it is an illusion of staggering, breathtaking beauty. It is a universe that has generously provided us with the capacity to ask profound questions, to build magnificent telescopes, and to peer into the terrifying depths of its own code. But as we embrace the quiet, peaceful mystery of our simulated or dreaming cosmos, we must confront the final, ultimate boundary of our scientific knowledge. We must look at the exquisite, almost impossible perfection of the physical laws that govern our reality. Why is the universe so perfectly tuned to allow for the existence of stars, planets, and conscious minds? As we prepare to take the next step in our cosmic journey, we must ask if this staggering perfection is a lucky cosmic accident in an infinite multiverse, or if it points toward something even more terrifying and profound, waiting in the silent dark. Have you ever watched a tightrope walker step out onto a thin, trembling wire suspended high above a terrifying, seemingly bottomless abyss? Every muscle in their body must work in perfect, harmonious unison. A single gust of wind, a slight miscalculation in their center of gravity, or a momentary lapse in absolute concentration results in a catastrophic fall. When we observe this, we hold our breath, intimately understanding the incredible fragility of that balance. Yet, the existence of the universe you inhabit, the very ground you walk upon, and the complex biological machinery of your own breathing body are balanced on an edge infinitely sharper and far more terrifying than any human tightrope. We walk through our daily lives feeling that reality is solid, inevitable, and robust. But modern physics reveals a completely different, deeply unsettling truth. Our universe is not inevitable. It is a staggering, breathtaking improbability. The foundational laws of nature, the invisible mathematical parameters that dictate how matter and energy interact, are so flawlessly, precisely tuned to allow for the existence of life that it defies all common sense. If you were to take the control panel of the cosmos and slightly turn even one of the countless dials that govern the forces of nature, by a fraction so small it is almost impossible for the human mind to comprehend, the entire universe would unravel into a dead, sterile void. Before we delicately examine the terrifying precision of this cosmic control panel, I want to take a gentle, quiet moment to speak directly to you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your dedicated companion on this journey through the deepest, most astonishing mysteries of the universe. As I observe our growing community of nighttime explorers, I have noticed that roughly 71% of the beautiful, curious minds who find comfort and wonder and a sense of intellectual safety in these relaxing, contemplative stories have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring a sense of peace to your weary mind, or help you find a comforting perspective in the overwhelming vastness of the cosmos, please consider subscribing. It helps our humble channel immensely and ensures that we can continue to unearth the terrifying and beautiful truths of our universe together, night after quiet night. Now, let us return to the terrifying edge of existence, to the flawless mathematical harmony of the void, and to the razor-thin margin of reality. To truly understand the chilling perfection of our universe, we must look at what physicists call the fundamental constants. These are the arbitrary numbers woven into the very fabric of reality, numbers like the mass of an electron, the speed of light, and the exact strength of gravity. These numbers are not dictated by any known theory. They simply are what they are, and they dictate the entire structure of the cosmos. Let us begin with the force of gravity, the invisible sculptor of the universe that pulls matter together to form stars, planets, and galaxies. If the force of gravity had been even slightly stronger at the moment of the Big Bang, the expanding cloud of primordial matter would have immediately collapsed back in on itself, crushing everything into a singular, fiery doom known as the Big Crunch, before a single star could even ignite. Conversely, if gravity had been just a microscopic fraction weaker, the primordial matter would have flown apart so rapidly that it would never have coalesced. The universe would be an endlessly expanding, utterly dark, freezing mist of completely isolated atoms. incapable of ever forming a galaxy, a star, or a world. The expansion rate of the early universe and the crushing pull of gravity had to be matched to an accuracy of 1 part in 10 to the power of 60. That is a 1 followed by 60 zeros. To visualize this level of precision, imagine firing a bullet at a target exactly 1 inch wide, located on the absolute opposite side of the observable universe, billions of light years away, and hitting it dead center. That is the terrifying accuracy required just to prevent the universe from instantly destroying itself. But the delicate balancing act of gravity is merely the beginning of the cosmic tightrope. We must also look into the microscopic heart of matter, at the intense, invisible battles waged between the fundamental forces that hold atoms together. The strong nuclear force is the immensely powerful cosmic glue that binds protons and neutrons together within the nucleus of an atom. It is the force that prevents the positively charged protons, which desperately want to violently repel each other due to the electromagnetic force, from flying apart. If the strong nuclear force were just 2% stronger, the delicate, ancient process of nuclear fusion in the hearts of stars would have burned through all the hydrogen in the universe almost immediately after the Big Bang. Without hydrogen, there could be no water, and without water, the chemistry required for biological life could never have sparked into existence. The universe would be a completely dry, dead expanse filled only with heavy, inert elements. But if the strong nuclear force were just 5% weaker, it would be incapable of holding anything together larger than a single proton. The entire universe would consist of absolutely nothing but hydrogen gas. There would be no carbon, no oxygen, no iron, no rocky planets, and absolutely no complex biological life. The universe would be a vast, silent ocean of identical, lonely particles, forever incapable of building complexity or dreaming of its own existence. This terrifying precision extends into the very birth of the elements that make up your own body. As the great astrophysicist Carl Sagan famously taught us, we are made of star stuff. Every molecule of carbon in your cellular structure was forged in the unimaginably hot, crushing core of an ancient, dying star. But the creation of carbon is a process so mathematically improbable that it completely astounded the brilliant astronomer Fred Hoyle in the 1950s. Carbon is created when 3 helium nuclei collide simultaneously inside a star, a process known as the triple alpha process. For this incredibly rare triple collision to result in a stable carbon atom, the exact energy level of the carbon nucleus must resonate perfectly with the combined energy of the helium. When Hoyle calculated the mathematics of this process, he realized that the energy levels matched with such terrifying, flawless precision that it could not possibly be a mere accident. The resonance of carbon is perfectly tuned down to the most microscopic decimal point to allow stars to manufacture the building blocks of life. The discovery shook Hoyle so profoundly that his atheism was severely tested, and he famously declared that a super-intellect must have monkeyed with the physics as well as with chemistry and biology, because there are no blind forces worth speaking about in nature. The universe, it seems, knew we were coming and prepared the precise mathematical environment necessary to forge the atoms of our existence. Yet, perhaps the most mind-bending and terrifying instance of fine-tuning involves the phantom force we explored earlier. Dark energy, the mysterious entity accelerating the expansion of the universe. Physicists refer to the energy density of the vacuum of space as the cosmological constant. When quantum physicists attempt to calculate what this number should be based on the fundamental laws of energy, They arrive at a number that is 120 orders of magnitude larger than what we actually observe in the real universe. A 1 followed by 120 zeros. If the cosmological constant were actually as strong as the theories predict, the universe would have been ripped apart at the subatomic level in the first fraction of a trillionth of a second after the Big Bang. Matter could never have formed. To match our reality, this number must be cancelled out and fine-tuned to a precision of 1 part in 10 to the power of 120. It is widely considered by physicists to be the most precisely fine-tuned number in all of science, and perhaps the worst theoretical prediction in the entire history of human knowledge. The fact that dark energy is gently pushing the universe apart at exactly the right speed to allow galaxies to form, rather than tearing reality to shreds instantaneously, is a numerical miracle that defies all rational, logical expectation. How do we make sense of this terrifying, almost suffocating perfection? How do we find peace in the knowledge that our existence balances on a microscopic needlepoint in an infinite, hostile void? Science offers 2 primary paths of contemplation. The first is known as the anthropic principle, a philosophical framework championed by brilliant minds like Sir Martin Rees. The weak version of this principle simply states that the universe must appear perfectly fine-tuned to us, because if it were not fine-tuned, we would not be here to observe it. We are the survivors of cosmic selection. We can only exist in the specific universe that allows for our existence, so we should not be surprised to find ourselves in one. This idea seamlessly weaves into the concept of the infinite multiverse we explored previously. If there are infinite, constantly bubbling universes, each with its own random set of physical laws, the vast majority of them are dead, sterile, and silent. But by sheer brute force probability, a tiny fraction of them will randomly happen to possess the exact right numbers to support life. We live in this beautifully rare universe simply because we could not possibly live in any of the others. We are the lucky winners of an infinite cosmic lottery, looking back at the winning ticket and mistakenly believing it was printed specifically for us. The second path of contemplation leads us back to the simulation hypothesis, or the terrifying possibility of an underlying intelligent architecture. If we reject the infinite chaos of the multiverse, we are left staring at a singular universe that possesses the unmistakable, undeniable signature of deliberate design, whether that design comes from the cold, optimizing algorithms of an advanced post-human civilization running a vast digital simulation, or whether it implies the existence of a deep pantheistic consciousness woven into the fabric of space-time itself. The result is the same. The universe is not a series of blind, random accidents. It is a purposeful, elegant mechanism, delicately calibrated to foster complexity, to breed consciousness, and to ultimately allow the cosmos to wake up and perceive its own ancient, terrifying beauty. When we let the immense weight of the universe's fine-tuning settle into our quiet minds, the existential terror of our fragility completely dissolves, replaced by a profound, sweeping sense of gratitude and deep spiritual peace. You are not an accident. You are the highly improbable, beautifully orchestrated result of an incomprehensible cosmic balancing act that began 13,800,000,000 years ago. Every law of physics, every fundamental particle, and every invisible force in the universe had to be perfectly aligned for you to take a single breath. The vast, cold silence of the cosmos is not a hostile wasteland. It is the necessary, perfectly tuned incubator for your existence. As we prepare to conclude our journey through the infinite and the microscopic, through time and timelessness, we must take one final, gentle step. We must look at the ultimate relationship between the quiet, observing human mind and the vast, swirling cosmos that birthed it, exploring the final beautiful mystery of what it truly means to be a conscious universe. Have you ever closed your eyes in a perfectly quiet, completely dark room and tried to softly pinpoint the exact physical location of your own conscious mind? You know, with absolute, unwavering certainty that you exist. You feel the gentle rhythm of your breathing. You hear the distant, muffled sounds of the nighttime world outside your window, and you experience a rich, infinite ocean of thoughts, memories, and emotions drifting through your awareness. But if a brilliant surgeon were to carefully open your skull and examine the physical gray matter of your brain under a powerful microscope, they would never find a single, solitary thought. They would find blood, tissue, electrical impulses, and complex chemical reactions. But they would not find your joy, your profound sorrows, or your quiet sense of wonder. You are a ghost inhabiting a biological machine, a completely intangible, subjective experience woven into a physical universe of atoms and gravity. This profound disconnect between the physical matter of the brain and the invisible reality of the mind is not just a biological puzzle. It is arguably the most terrifying and magnificent mystery in the entire cosmos, a paradox that forces us to question the very fabric of existence itself. Before we venture deeper into the ancient, silent labyrinth of the human mind and its terrifying connection to the stars, I want to take a gentle, quiet moment to speak directly to you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your dedicated companion on this journey through the deepest, most astonishing mysteries of the universe. As I observe our growing community of nighttime explorers, I have noticed that roughly 71% of the beautiful, curious minds who find comfort and wonder and a sense of intellectual safety in these relaxing, contemplative stories have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring a sense of peace to your weary mind, or help you find a comforting perspective in the overwhelming vastness of the cosmos, please consider subscribing. It helps our humble channel immensely and ensures that we can continue to unearth the terrifying and beautiful truths of our universe together, night after quiet night. Now, let us return to the quiet dark, to the electrical storms of the brain, and to the greatest, most chilling mystery of human consciousness. To truly understand the staggering magnitude of this mystery, we must first look at the sheer physical complexity of the human brain. Resting quietly inside your skull is an organ weighing roughly 3 pounds. Yet it is universally recognized by astrophysicists as the most complex, densely organized structure in the known universe. It consists of approximately 86 billion individual neurons. There are roughly as many neurons in your individual brain as there are brilliant, burning stars in the entire Milky Way galaxy. Each of those 86 billion neurons is connected to thousands of others, creating a microscopic biological web of over 100 trillion synaptic connections. Every single second, millions of electrical impulses fire across this vast, dark network, constructing the seamless, unbroken illusion of reality that you experience right now. Yet, all of this staggering complexity is built entirely from the exact same dead, unconscious elements that make up the cold, silent rocks of distant planets and the burning plasma of dying stars. You are composed of carbon, hydrogen, oxygen, nitrogen, and trace amounts of iron. There is absolutely nothing fundamentally magical about the atoms inside your brain. If you were to isolate a carbon atom from your visual cortex and place it next to a carbon atom extracted from a cold, dead asteroid drifting in intergalactic space, the most brilliant physicist could not tell them apart. They follow the exact same rigid laws of quantum mechanics. So, how does dead, unconscious matter suddenly wake up? How does a collection of completely mindless particles, obeying blind laws of physics, suddenly experience the smell of rain, the warmth of a gentle touch, or the profound, terrifying realization of its own mortality? In the rigorous halls of science, this is known as the hard problem of consciousness. Science is exceptionally good at explaining the easy problems of the brain, how the eyes process photons of light, and how the motor cortex commands your muscles to move. We can map the neural pathways and measure exact electrical voltages. But science remains completely, terrifyingly silent on how those objective, physical processes actually generate a subjective inner world. There is no mathematical equation and no physical law that explains why it feels like anything to be alive. The transition from objective matter to subjective experience is a complete blank in our understanding of the universe. It is as if the cosmos performed an impossible, miraculous magic trick right in front of our eyes, creating a ghost out of stardust. Because classical mechanical laws of physics have utterly failed to explain the emergence of consciousness, some of the most visionary minds in physics are turning to deeply radical, mind-bending theories. What if consciousness is not an accidental byproduct of complex biology, a strange glitch on one tiny, wet planet? What if consciousness is a fundamental, woven property of the universe itself, just like gravity or electromagnetic charge? This ancient, beautiful idea is known as panpsychism. In this view, every single particle in the universe, every electron, every photon of light, possesses some unimaginably tiny, microscopic spark of subjective experience. When these particles are arranged in incredibly complex, highly integrated structures, like the 86 billion neurons of the human brain, those microscopic sparks combine and amplify, generating the rich, brilliant flame of human awareness. You are not a machine that magically learned to think. You are a complex, beautifully localized concentration of the universe's own inherent sentience. This concept seamlessly bridges the terrifying gap between mind and matter, suggesting that the universe has always been quietly awake, dreaming in the dark silence of space, long before the first stars ever ignited. This deep, intimate connection between the observer and the observed leads us back to one of the most profound, deeply unsettling mysteries of quantum mechanics. In the quantum realm, the universe exists in a blurry, undecided haze of infinite possibilities until it is forced to choose a definite state by an observer. The brilliant theoretical physicist John Archibald Wheeler took this terrifying paradox to its absolute, logical extreme. He proposed the participatory anthropic principle. Wheeler suggested that the universe simply cannot exist in a real, definite state without a conscious observer to look at it. Just as a video game engine only renders a landscape when the player turns their character to face it, the entire cosmos, stretching billions of light years across the silent void, requires the presence of conscious minds to collapse its infinite quantum probabilities into a singular, solid reality. In this breathtaking, terrifying vision of existence, we are not insignificant biological accidents arriving at the very end of a 13 billion year cosmic story. We are the essential, critical components that make the story real. The universe created us so that we could look back at it. And by looking back, we retroactively bring the ancient, silent history of the cosmos into definite, physical existence. When we look closely at the large-scale structure of the entire observable universe, this deeply philosophical idea takes on a chilling, almost physical form. When astrophysicists use powerful supercomputers to map the distribution of dark matter and massive galaxy clusters across billions of light years, the resulting visual representation is absolutely, terrifyingly familiar. The cosmic web, with its vast glowing filaments of matter, connecting dense, bright nodes of galaxies separated by immense, dark voids of empty space, looks almost exactly like a microscopic image of a human neural network. The physical structure of the universe is a staggering, macroscopic mirror of the physical structure of your brain. While this might be a mere mathematical coincidence, a beautiful result of fractal geometry playing out on vastly different scales, it whispers a haunting, poetic truth into the quiet dark. Perhaps the universe is not just a cold container for conscious beings. Perhaps the universe is an immense, incredibly ancient, developing mind, and our small biological consciousnesses are merely tiny, localized thoughts firing across the synapses of a cosmic brain. When we allow these staggering, monumental concepts to gently settle into the quiet spaces of our minds, the initial terror of our fragility completely dissolves, replaced by a profound, sweeping sense of gratitude and deep spiritual peace. You are not a lonely, insignificant creature trapped in a cold, indifferent void. You are an essential, deeply integrated participant in the grandest, most mysterious story ever told. The atoms in your body were forged in the ancient, dying hearts of stars. The quantum particles in your brain are entangled with the fundamental fabric of space-time. And your conscious mind, with its infinite capacity for wonder, love, and quiet contemplation, is the very mechanism through which the universe experiences its own breathtaking beauty. We are not separate from the cosmos. We are the cosmos, briefly awake, gazing out into the dark, trying to understand the terrifying miracle of our own existence. But as we find peace in this profound connection, we must ask ourselves what lies beyond the boundaries of our physical perception. We live in a world of 3 dimensions of space and 1 dimension of time, but the most advanced mathematics of modern physics insist that this is merely a superficial slice of reality. As we prepare to take the next step in our quiet journey, we must close our eyes to the familiar, comforting world we have always known, and step blindly into the dizzying, terrifying geometry of higher dimensions, exploring the unseen, curled-up realms of string theory and the invisible ghosts of parallel spaces that silently exist right beside us in the dark. Have you ever tried to vividly imagine a color that does not exist in the human spectrum, or attempted to picture a physical object moving in a direction that is neither up nor down, left nor right, forward nor backward? Our human brains, beautifully evolved to navigate the 3-dimensional planes of a rocky planet, are fundamentally, violently incapable of visualizing geometries that extend beyond our everyday experience. We are entirely bound by the physical constraints of height, width, and depth, perfectly synchronized with the relentless, linear forward march of time. We perceive this specific, highly limited cross-section of reality and confidently declare it to be the absolute totality of the cosmos. But when theoretical physicists push the boundaries of mathematics to their absolute breaking point, attempting to finally unite the terrifying, infinite, crushing gravity of black holes with the dizzying, blurry uncertainties of the quantum realm, the equations simply refuse to work in our familiar 4-dimensional space-time. The only way the mathematics of the universe can be elegantly solved, the only way to weave all the fundamental forces of nature into one beautiful, singular theory of everything, is to boldly suggest that our universe contains hidden, invisible dimensions, curled up in the cold, silent dark, operating in directions our minds can never truly comprehend. Before we surrender our minds to the dizzying, impossible geometry of these hidden realms, I want to take a gentle, quiet moment to speak directly to you. I am Theodore, the researcher, your dedicated companion on this quiet journey through the deepest, most astonishing mysteries of the universe. As I observe our growing community of nighttime explorers, I have noticed that roughly 71% of the beautiful, curious minds who find comfort and wonder and a sense of intellectual safety in these relaxing, contemplative stories have not yet subscribed to the channel. If these quiet explorations bring a sense of peace to your weary mind, or help you find a comforting perspective in the overwhelming vastness of the cosmos, please consider subscribing. It helps our humble channel immensely and ensures that we can continue to unearth the terrifying and beautiful truths of our universe together, night after quiet night. Now, let us leave behind the comfort of our three-dimensional world and step gently into the invisible, vibrating heart of string theory. For nearly a century, physics has been violently torn into two irreconcilable halves. On one side, we have Albert Einstein's magnificent theory of general relativity, a beautifully elegant framework that flawlessly describes the macroscopic universe, the majestic orbits of galaxies, the slow, relentless expansion of space-time, and the crushing, bottomless gravity of supermassive black holes. On the other side, we have the bizarre, probabilistic world of quantum mechanics, which flawlessly describes the microscopic interactions of atoms, the ghostly behavior of electrons, and the chaotic, shifting sea of subatomic particles. Both theories have been proven correct by thousands of rigorous, undeniable experiments. Yet, when physicists attempt to combine them to understand phenomena, where both immense gravity and microscopic scales coexist, like the singularity at the heart of a black hole, or the exact explosive moment of the Big Bang, the equations catastrophically collapse into infinite, impossible nonsense. The mathematics literally scream that something fundamental is missing from our understanding of reality. To resolve this terrifying paradox, visionary theoretical physicists developed string theory, a framework so radically different from our everyday experience that it requires us to completely discard our traditional concept of matter. According to string theory, if you were to take a single elementary particle, an electron or a quark, and zoom in on it with a hypothetical microscope of infinite, unimaginable power, you would not see a solid, zero-dimensional point of matter. Instead, you would see a microscopic, one-dimensional loop of pure energy vibrating silently in the dark. Just as the different vibrations of a cello string produce different musical notes, the specific vibrational patterns of these microscopic strings dictate the properties of the particles they form. A string vibrating at one frequency manifests as a photon of light, while a string vibrating at a different frequency manifests as a particle of gravity known as a graviton. In this deeply beautiful, almost poetic vision of the cosmos, the universe is not a massive mechanical machine constructed from solid, inanimate building blocks. The universe is a magnificent cosmic symphony, an infinite orchestra of vibrating strings of energy playing an unimaginably complex, eternal song across the vast expanses of space-time. You, the chair you are sitting on, the dark matter surrounding our galaxy, and the ancient light of distant stars are all fundamentally composed of the exact same vibrating musical essence. We are literally made of cosmic music. However, for the mathematics of this cosmic symphony to actually work, for the equations of string theory to elegantly unite all the fundamental forces of nature without breaking down into mathematical chaos. The strings require more room to vibrate than our familiar four dimensions can possibly provide. The equations demand a staggering, terrifying total of 10 or even 11 dimensions of space-time. If these extra dimensions truly exist, where are they hiding? Why do we only experience 3 dimensions of space and 1 of time? The answer lies in the concept of compactification. Physicists theorize that while the 3 dimensions of space we experience daily expanded massively, during the fiery birth of the universe, the remaining 6 or 7 dimensions did not. Instead, they remained tightly curled up upon themselves, woven into microscopic, unimaginably complex geometrical shapes known as Calabi-Yau manifolds. These hidden dimensions exist everywhere, at every single point in space. They are curled up inside the atoms of your breathing body, inside the screen you're looking at, and inside the empty void of interstellar space. They are so incredibly tiny, billions of times smaller than a single proton, that no human instrument will ever be able to physically measure them. Yet, according to string theory, the specific, intricate shapes of these invisible, curled-up dimensions dictate the exact vibrational patterns of the strings within them, which in turn determines all the fundamental constants of our universe, from the exact mass of an electron to the delicate strength of gravity itself. The existence of these extra dimensions also offers a breathtaking, mind-bending explanation for the multiverse we explored earlier. In an advanced version of string theory known as M-theory, the fundamental ingredients of reality are not just one-dimensional strings, but also higher-dimensional membranes, or brains for short. Our entire universe, with its billions of galaxies and its billions of light-years of expanding space, might simply be a 3-dimensional brain floating silently through a much larger, higher-dimensional space known as the bulk. Just like a single slice of bread in an infinite cosmic loaf, our universe might be existing perfectly parallel to other, completely invisible universes resting on their own adjacent brains. We cannot see them, we cannot touch them, and we cannot interact with them, because all the matter and light in our universe is permanently glued to our specific 3-dimensional slice. The only force that might be able to leak across the higher dimensional bulk and interact with neighboring universes is gravity. This terrifying, beautiful concept suggests that the dark matter we perceive in our own galaxy might actually be the ghostly, gravitational echo of massive, invisible structures existing in a parallel universe, pressing gently against the fabric of our own reality. It even provides a hauntingly beautiful mechanism for the creation of the cosmos itself. Perhaps the Big Bang was not a singular, miraculous explosion from nothingness, but the violent, fiery collision of 2 immense, rippling brains floating in the higher dimensional dark, sparking the creation of a new reality. When we force our minds to stand on the edge of these staggering, impossible geometries, when we try to contemplate a reality composed of vibrating strings, invisible microscopic dimensions, and floating parallel universes, we might feel a profound sense of cognitive exhaustion. The universe is simply too complex, too deeply layered, and too wildly exotic for our primate brains to ever fully comprehend. But this realization should not bring us frustration or despair. It is, perhaps, the most beautiful, comforting truth we could ever hope to discover. If the universe were perfectly simple, if it were fully understandable and neatly packaged into a few easily digestible rules, it would be a tragically finite, boring place. The fact that reality breaks our intuition, the fact that it requires hidden dimensions and vibrating energy to make sense, guarantees that the mystery of existence is completely, wonderfully inexhaustible. There will never come a quiet night when humanity looks up at the stars and says that we finally understand everything. The journey of discovery is truly eternal, an infinite labyrinth of terrifying abysses and breathtaking revelations waiting in the dark. We have traveled incredibly far together through these quiet stories. We have unraveled the biological illusion of the present moment and explored the frozen, majestic architecture of the block universe. We have descended into the dizzying, probabilistic haze of the microscopic quantum realm, where particles exist everywhere at once and time can seemingly flow backward. We have watched the relentless, melancholic march of entropy slowly freeze the cosmos, and we have peered over the terrifying edge of the black hole, wondering if our reality is merely a holographic ghost. We have floated in the invisible, ancient ocean of dark matter, and we have surrendered our unique identities to the infinite, branching realities of the multiverse. We have confronted the chilling, haunting silence of the stars, wondering if we are truly alone, or if we are trapped inside an ancient, incredibly advanced digital simulation. We have marveled at the terrifying, razor-thin fine-tuning of the fundamental forces of nature, and we have looked deeply into the most profound mystery of all, the realization that the universe is not just an empty stage, but a conscious, dreaming entity, looking back at itself through the quiet, wondrous lens of the human mind. You, the conscious observer listening to these words, are the magnificent culmination of all these terrifying, beautiful mysteries. You are the universe's ultimate method of exploring its own impossible complexity. Every atom in your body was forged in the explosive death of a star. Every quantum probability collapsed perfectly to bring you into this exact quiet moment. You are a biological anchor holding onto a three-dimensional brain composed of microscopic, vibrating strings of musical energy intricately woven into a cosmos that is 95% completely invisible and fundamentally unknowable. Do not fear the vastness of the dark. Do not tremble at the infinite scale of cosmic time or the staggering distances between the silent galaxies. You belong to the cosmos as intimately and permanently as gravity belongs to mass, and as beautifully as light belongs to the stars. The universe is terrifying, yes. It is violent, chaotic, and fundamentally strange. But above all, it is profoundly, deeply, unimaginably beautiful, and it is a beauty that exists solely because you are here in the quiet dark, awake and willing to witness it. Keep looking up. Keep asking profound questions. Keep seeking the unseen, hidden dimensions of reality, and never, ever lose your gentle, quiet sense of wonder.